This is the story of the choices of a city, of hubris for unbridled development in the face of nature's true power, and for the decisions made in the light of this engineering apocalypse. Throughout the coastal South, the city of Galveston would serve as a testament to the degree at which a city could be humbled, and the magnitude with which a community can respond. Over a century later, once Texas's most powerful center of commerce, Galveston has effectively rebooted itself to relative import as a preservation of the rich diversity of the state's past. Emerging from roots in agriculture, specifically ranching, the founding of Galveston Bay and Texas Land Company ignited large-scale residential development in the area. Galveston became a major point of entry for immigrants from Europe and the eastern United States, as well as a home for a community of former slaves. As the nearby settlements of Harrisburg and Houston grew, so too did the needs for transportation of both goods and people. This provided a powerful job market in both rail and sea travel. This led to the founding of the Gulf, Colorado, and Santa Fe railways. As ranching profitability declined and more grazing land was turned residential, agricultural emphasis shifted to produce cultivation. However, the cornerstone of commerce for the island became cotton shipment. Topographically, Galveston was on precarious footing to begin with. The low, flat island rose but a few feet above sea level. Though concerns for the need of a seawall were raised by constituents, the city's government would initially reject the proposal. Further settlement would lead to the depletion of coastal sand dunes, which initially provided some protection from the sea. On September 8th, in the year 1900, a Category 4 hurricane wiped out one-third of the island city. Property damages reached $20 to $35 million, over $700 million by today's standards. But worst of all, the storm left a death toll of at least 5,000, with some estimates reaching as high as 12,000. This monumental loss was due not only to poor city planning, but also to the fact that many of the residents of the island and surrounding areas were made of small, cheaply constructed wooden shacks in especially low-lying areas. Even the affluent brick and stone constructions, usually resting on higher points of the island, could not escape the storm's wrath. Galveston had previously molded its residential identity with iconic Victorian mansions. The near-complete erasure of infrastructure would lead to the establishment of stricter building code for much of the coastal South. Moreover, the collective hubris would lead to an indelible impression on the minds of the remaining Galvestonians and Texans at large. Political reform was enacted to streamline rebuilding. At the forefront of the response, however, was a twofold plan for remedying the civil engineering flaws of the past. First, a 3-mile concrete seawall would be constructed, stretching from the south jetty to the eastern edge of the city to protect from storm surge. Second, the entire island would be raised an average of 5 feet using dredged sand. The remaining houses were actually lifted to accommodate the newly mandated elevation changes. The 3-mile-long, 17-foot-high seawall would be constructed in 1902 and later be extended, traversing over 10 miles of the Galveston coast. Another key to rehabilitation of the community was the construction of a new all-weather causeway to replace the bridge destroyed by the storm. In 1915, a storm of comparable strength besieged Galveston yet again. This time, though there were significant structural damages, the death toll was only 53. Though tragic and revelatory of an ongoing need for residential building evolution, the drastically reduced death toll demonstrated the relative effectiveness of large-scale changes made. Though the loss of more than 5,000 lives had immediate effects on the local economy, it would even more profoundly alter the economic trajectory of the city for the century to come. As Texas began to see a windfall of growth with the discovery of oil, the hub for commerce relocated to the nearby inland city of Houston. So too did much of the population that once called Galveston home. Prior to the disaster, Galveston was an ornate commercial checkpoint for Texas. Its residential community displayed not only affluence, but a multitude of cultural representations communicated through architectural design. As the local economy ailed, businesses and residents began to doubt the island's potential long-term viability. Though the devastation was profound, many of the residences were built in a similar manner to those before the storm. It was believed, erroneously, that the seawall and elevating of the land would provide all the necessary protection needed. As mentioned before, however, the storm would wreak structural havoc. From the storm emerged several developments, one of the most notably being the demonstration of need for governmental response for disaster relief. The raising of an entire island by 5 feet would also prove to be one of the greatest civil engineering works of Texas history. In the wake of a burgeoning Texas economy, Galveston's role was drastically diminished. Though still a key port and minor manufacturing hub, the economic future of the island began to shift towards tourism and leisure. During the rebuilding effort, special attention was paid to the restoration of the artistry once displayed by the iconic residences of the community. The primarily Victorian stylings saw representations of Gothic Revival, Greek Revival, Federal, Romanesque, and Italianate design, as well as strong Creole influences. The preservation of these homes symbolize the once powerful island's confluence of people and ideas, and also serve as a cornerstone for modern Galveston's tourism appeal.